And so, ladies and gentlemen, we move to the Leonardo da Vinci, the Salvator Mundi, the masterpiece by Leonardo of Christ the Saviour, previously in the collections of 3 kings of England. At 90 million. 95, and I go 110 over here. 110. I have it at 110 million. Who'll give me 120? Give me 140. 130 million. 140 million is bid at 140 million with Alex at 140 million. 150 might take it at 140 million holding at the moment. Where is that? 150. Welcome at 150 million on the left. 160 might take it at 150 million. Many places still. 160 is bid back to Alex at 160 million. At 190 million, give me 200. 190 is bid. 200 million is bid. At 200 million. At 200 million. 200 million, please. 200 million is bid. Give me 10. At 200 million is bid. 200 million is here. Currently hanging with Alex on my right. At 200 million for the Leonardo. At 200 million, looking for 210. Sir, are you coming back in? At 240 million. Currently. 245 million is bid. At 245 million. 250 million is bid. It's back to François de Porter at $266 million. 268 million, you heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Back to Alex at 268. Are we all out here? It's at 270 million, the hand goes up. 270 against you. Alex, would you like 275? Might do the trick. 270 million, back to François de Porter. Loïc, are you out? You all done? Want to pop back in with a 5? 280. 280 million. The increment of 10 million, ladies and gentlemen, at 280 million. With Alex. At $280 million. Are we all done? Maybe not. Don't take the photograph quite yet. 286 million. 286 million. Will you give me 290, Alex? 300. I thought so. 300 million. Let's see if that's done it. 300 million. At 300 million is still with Alex. At $300 million for Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci. At $315 million. Not yours at the moment. Give me a bid. 318 is bid. The hand went up. At 318 million now. At $318 million. With Francois. 320 million, we're still not done. At 320 million. At 320 million now. Give me 5, Francois. 320 I have. 320 million. I'll have to hurry you. At 320. 328 million. 328 million. Back to François de Porter. 330 million. At 330 million now. $330 million. Would you like 5? 330 million is bid, ladies and gentlemen, and selling at 330 million with Alex's clients ahead of you here at 332 million. Back to Francois at 332 million. 332 is the number. 335. For those of you following online, you may not have heard it. The bid was 350 was called on the telephone. At 350 million for Leonardo Salvator Mundi. At 350 million. Here at Christie's, at 350 million, and looking for another bid, please, Francois, at 350. The conversation continues, so we will pause at 350 million. $352 million. 352 million is bid at $352 million. $355 million is bid. Would you like 340? 360, I beg your pardon. 355 is bid. 355 is bid. 360 will be next. 370 is bid. 370 million. $370 million. Back to Francois' client at $370 million, ladies and gentlemen. 400 million. $400 million is the bid. Here in the sale room at $400 million with Alex Rotter. The bid is here at $400 million. For the Salvator Mundi at $400 million. Francois is out. Are you sure, Francois? At $400 million then. Thank you all for your bidding here and on the telephone to my left. And of course here, Loic and Francois. It is with Alex Rotter at $400 million. Leonardo Salvator Mundi selling here at Christie's. $400 million is the bid, and the piece is sold.
Everybody knows Leonardo da Vinci as the epitome of the Renaissance man. He was an engineer, he was an architect, he was a scientist with an interest in everything from the complex flow of water to optics. Of course, Leonardo was also a painter and a notorious perfectionist. And it wasn't just that he found it hard to complete pictures. During the course of his career, which lasted around half a century, he probably began work on no more than 20 paintings. And only 15 have survived that art historians generally agree are entirely his. Which is barely more than a couple of handfuls, really. So the discovery of a new painting by Leonardo is a major event, which is why I'm very keen to head inside and take a look for myself. I've just stepped inside from the city street, this sort of maelstrom of activity, human hustle and bustle. And here, suddenly you're stopped in your tracks and it sucks you towards it. It has this quiet aura. And it's really quite humbling and moving to be confronted by this, so face to face. We're brought right up close, next to divinity itself. He's Christ, he's the figure of Christ in the guise of Salvator Mundi, the saviour of the world. Discovering a new painting by Leonardo is a bit like finding a new planet. When you first encounter the picture, it has all of the hallmarks of a work by Leonardo. It has that shadowy, mysterious quality, that use of sfumato, the smoky, evanescent blurring of boundaries and contours, which create that very distinctive effect if you look around here. This real interest and obsession in hair, in the intricacy of these cascading, high-lit ringlets of hair. This was a man who was obsessed with optics and the way light worked. And of course, you're seeing light passing through the orb, this transparent rock crystal orb that Christ is holding in his left hand. And everywhere in Leonardo's work you find figures who are pointing, as though they're pointing to a secret of the painting which can never quite be imparted and unravelled. And here you don't have a pointing hand, but you have that right hand raised in blessing. And it seems to be gesturing upwards, which is the general tone of this thing. It's about heavenly mysteries. This was painted probably around about the turn of the 16th century, 1499, 1500, round about then. And eventually, in the 17th century, it ended up in the royal collection of King Charles I of England. The royal collection was sold off. This picture, which was sold and then returned, languishes in obscurity until the beginning of the 20th century, when no one thought that it would possibly be by Leonardo. People considered this, at that time it was completely overpainted. They thought it was by a follower of Leonardo, so twice removed. Have a look at this right hand of blessing here. The quality of the hand is one of the clues, was originally for some art historians and scholars, that this could be by Leonardo. And when it was subjected to analysis, they saw what's known as a pentiment, which means you can see the workings of the artist. Originally, the thumb was in a different position, and then Leonardo must have changed his mind, and he switches that thumb to its final position. If you were making a copy of a picture, there's no way you'd do that. It wouldn't make any sense. They also looked and saw, along that upper line of the upper lip, evidence that this image was created by transferring a drawing onto the panel, and that's done by pricking tiny holes in the contours of the drawing, shaking dust so that gently it goes through the cartoon, leaving minute traces of that drawing in the dust on the surface of the panel. And some of those were still to be found. Now again, if you were copying a painting, it's highly unlikely that you would go about doing that. A group of Leonardo experts and scholars, working closely with professional conservatives, built a case that this painting, despite the obvious scepticism that it couldn't possibly be by Leonardo, was in fact a genuine autograph original work. I'm not remotely religious, but I find looking at this genuinely quite a moving thing, because this is offering a vision of peace, which is a complete antidote to day-to-day life. It's a really extraordinary, memorable picture. And it feels as though it could suddenly slip off back into the shadows at any moment.